channel, Motivation, Happiness, and Hard Truths with myself, Megan Ridgel. If you find yourself consistently seeking approval from family or friends, maybe even acquaintances, then this is the video for you, and make sure you do not click out, as today we're going to go over how to make sure you start separating approval and disapproval from what you actually proceed to do in your life. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. I'm so excited that you are joining me today. And if you're returning for yet again another video, I appreciate you. Please make sure that you turn on your post notifications and subscribe to the channel. That way you are notified every single week when new content is releasing. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. So while these two simple words, approval and disapproval, seem so self-explanatory, do you really understand what it is doing to your life? Do you understand that when you rely so much on getting somebody's approval, you are really hindering yourself from doing something that you want? For such a small example, let's talk about a haircut. How many times have you thought about getting a haircut, sent this style to family and friends, and if everybody didn't approve and everybody didn't think that this haircut would look great on you, you just didn't do it? Let's talk about maybe moving or being in a relationship. Have you reached out to family and friends to ask, do you think this is a good neighborhood, or do you think I can afford this? Do you think this is the best person for me, or do you think I could do better? And when somebody doesn't approve, you do not proceed with what will make you happy in the moment and what ultimately could be great for you. While seeking approval can be a very, very healthy thing in life. And I say that because most of the time what we seek approval and who we seek approval from is from our family and our friends. So people who know us probably better than we may know ourselves in some aspects. It can be a great thing to try to get different opinions and potentially try to get approval from these people. But I think it's important to remember that ultimately it's not their life. It's not their decisions, and it's not going to affect them. So it's important to remember that even though it's great to have a strong support system and people who care about you and who hopefully approve of the things that you're trying to do, it is really important to remember that they may not. They may disapprove of your person, they may disapprove of your thing or your career change or your haircut, but it's important to remember that these people still love you and they still care about you, and that it is your life, and that you need to do what is best for you in the moment and potentially your future. I also feel the need to just give you a reminder that most of these people who you are seeking approval from either already have their own life. Let's say it's your family or their friend. They already have their own life. They have their career, right? They have the relationship. They have the house, the neighborhood, whatever the case is. They have these things. So ultimately, even though their approval would be fantastic, it's not them that it's affecting most of the time. Sometimes some decisions we make do affect these people, and in that case it may be important to kind of take in account to what they have to say. But the other thing is, most of the time people who we are seeking approval from, in no mean way, shape, or form am I trying to say this rudely, but they just don't matter. I mean, unless you are really, really seeking opinions from your family and your friends because you think that they want what's best for you, everybody else that we are so worried about and that we want their approval are really people who are just strangers. And a lot of the time, those strangers are naysayers and they're negative and they're not supportive of what you want to do and where you want to go. But that's okay. We don't need the entire world to approve of the things that we want to do or where we want to go. And that's super, super important to remember. One of the examples that is obvious for me that I always like to share is just these YouTube videos and my podcast. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'm sure people have joked about it or made fun of it, or how many people have actually said things to me like, you know, it won't get big, or you won't be heard, or nobody's going to listen to you. And that's all okay because I do it because I love to do it. But at the end of the day, these people were all people who, you know, really didn't mean much. I mean, not to be mean, but their opinion to me was not something that made me want to stop what I love to do. And I think that's important to remember, because if we're relying on everybody's approval, I mean, you're never going to do what you want to do because you're never going to get everybody's approval. There's always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be negative people. There's always going to be people who have a different opinion about what you should do or where you should go. So it's so important that you remember to not seek approval of other people. I mean, ultimately, they're not living your life. They're not going to pay your bills. They're not going to get you in your future. They're not going to make you happy. So why do you rely so much on their opinion and their approval for what you ultimately deserve and should have? Outside of just strangers, I do think it's important to also remember that while we all hope and pray, and I hope that you do have a strong and amazing support system who all mean well, sometimes there's people who pretend that they're supportive or who want to be there, quote unquote, but ultimately they're not, 100% supportive of your best and well-being. So I think it's important to remember that we do not sacrifice what we want to do for the sake of not getting approval from somebody else who, at the end of the day, may not even be around for a long time and may not have your best interest at heart. So that's another thing I want to just remind people, is to make sure that you know who your strong support system is, and that is fantastic. And I hope that everybody has somebody like that, or multiple people. But it's also important to remember there are strangers. There are people who pretend that they're close with us. There are family and friends, right, who are going to disapprove of things that you do. That is a part of life. And we cannot please everybody. We cannot make everybody happy with our decisions. So it's important to remember that regardless of who it is, family, friends, whatever the case is, you do not rely solely on their approval and their judgment to make your decisions. Because if you do, where will you end up? Think about it now. Are there any things that come to your mind as I'm talking that you've already sacrificed, that you've already maybe not done, that you've already moved past? Anything like that because of a lack of approval from somebody who you cared about. And again, they may have your best interests at heart, but did you become happier? Did you become better by the decision that you made to not proceed with this thing, or to proceed with this thing because of approval or disapproval? So you need to really, really take into account when you are thinking about things that you want to do, again, whether it is the smallest thing, or if it's a large thing, when you're thinking about things that you want to do, are you solely focused on, is this going to better me? Is this going to make my mental and my emotional and my spiritual and physical being better? Is it beneficial to me and to my future? And if that's the case, it's okay to seek these, opinions and some advice, maybe if you need it. But it's important to remember that you do not make your decision, whether it's a yes or a no, or a do or a don't, off of somebody's approval. And to pair with all of this is going to be judgment. I mean, people are going to judge you, and that's ultimately what leads to somebody either approving you or not approving of you in some situations. So people are going to think about, wow, this girl has an annoying face and I hate that she talks to me on the camera and that she thinks she's making a difference, right? So people are going to think about, wow, why would this girl want to cut her hair? I mean, this is ridiculous. Some people are going to say, wow, I cannot believe that so-and-so would change their career in the middle of a great opportunity, or that so-and-so's in this relationship with this guy after we told her not to. I mean, there's so many things that people are going to judge you on that ultimately is going to either make them say, yeah, I don't approve. I think that this is a joke, or I don't approve of what they're saying, or I don't approve of what's happening. So again, let me just reiterate that if it's something that you are passionate about, or something that you just want to change, or that you just want to try, or you want to do, then freaking do it, okay? Stop listening and counting so much on people's approval. Stop listening to people's judgment, because again, there's going to be people who are going to approve of things that you do. There's going to be people who disapprove of things that you do. There's going to be people who are going to judge you. And a lot of these people are going to be from the sidelines. So I think it's important to remember that, again, not to be mean, but why do we let these people's opinions take into account in our own selves so heavily that we just don't do things that make us happy? Now, if it's family or friends, I know it's a little bit harder to kind of separate that and figure out where a nice balance is, and how to kind of try to make everybody happy in your situation. But it's important to remember in that case that, again, most of these people already have those things, right? They've already gotten their life, or they're moving towards their life, and they're making their own decisions. They're doing their own things, and they're not really counting on your approval, right? And they may not even care. They probably don't care about the judgment that you give them, because they're still going to do those things that they want to do. So why can't you seem to do it? You can. That's the secret. That's the best part, is that you absolutely can. And it's important to remember that ultimately, again, these people, whether it's family or friends, or just sideliners, are going to have things and thoughts that they want to say and things and thoughts that they may even tell you, but are you going to let that really deter you from what makes you happy and what you can do to have a better future for yourself? So I hope after watching the video that your answer is just simply no. No, I'm not going to let people's approval or disapproval change my mind about my future and my well-being. No, I'm not going to pay attention so much to people's judgment and their hardmanships and the naysayers. And no, I'm not going to let what other people think about me persuade and change my mind about things that I want to do, because I deserve them and I am in love with what I'm trying to do. Ultimately, you guys have that decision to make on your own. It's up to you whether or not you listen to what people have to say and you hear what people's opinions are and you let their approval or lack thereof change your mind on something that is important to you. But I hope that you decide every single time to really take a step back and to really evaluate what is it that you want. And are you listening to the approvers or the disapprovers? Are you listening to the judgment? And are you allowing these things to take control over a situation that is for you and nobody else? Not them, not your family, not your friends, not the person on social media who is mocking you or being mean to you in any way, shape, or form. Are you going to let these people control you? Because I hope and I pray that your answer is no. Please make sure that every single time you have something that is important to you, you remember it's okay to ask for opinions. And it's okay to hear these opinions. But ultimately, please do not let them deter you from what is going to make you the best and the happiest version that you can be. I really hope that this video helped. I know it's short and simple and to the point, but I really just want to reiterate, guys, do not let approvers and disapprovers and judgment put your future to a halt, because ultimately it's not theirs. Regardless of if it's family or friends or strangers, you need to make sure that you are consistently doing what is best for you, regardless of everybody else's judgment and their approval or whatever the case is, because it is for you and nobody else. So please remember that as you proceed with all your decisions and happy beginnings of what is to come of your life. Please remember always that you are loved, you're appreciated, you are heard, you are seen, and you are cared for, and you matter deeply to this world and to other people. Please have a fantastic week, guys, and I will be talking to you soon.